You've seen the headlines. We're here to unpack what it looks like to purchase a home in North Carolina in 2024. I'm Lexi Wyer.
And I'm Jake Wyer with the Wyer Group. And you've probably been seeing these headlines for the last 6 months to a year that there's been this massive lawsuit in the real estate industry. And it is the Home Sellers of the United States class action lawsuit against NAR.
The National Association of Realtors, if you're not familiar with that.
That's probably an industry term that most people are not familiar with. We are members, and as real estate agents, realtors, all of us are a member. So that being said, what this comes down to is really, as a buyer, how does this affect you? Because that's really the question.
Just refer to your local state boards and what's going on in your local industry, because it is very different state to state based on what was already implemented before this lawsuit settlement and afterwards.
Right. As a buyer, how does this change things for you?
Right.
And I think the biggest headline that's being pushed out there is that buyer broker representation is no longer happening, and that you as a buyer are going to be paying that commission out of pocket versus the seller, which was what happened previous to the lawsuit.
Right, which has always been an option, sellers not paying the commission, like a for sale by owner, for example.
Yep.
It's never been set in stone.
No, always been negotiable. All that things is the way it is. It's always been. So what we're here to tell you is that nothing has really changed that much as from what we have seen in the industry. Sellers are still offering a commission. Buyers are still very, very, very rarely having to pay anything out of pocket for a commission.
Right, so let's talk about a few scenarios here. Again, this is the same as it was a year ago, but let's just go over it anyways. So scenario number one, you are a home buyer and the seller pays the entire buyer agent commission. Okay, scenario number two, you're the home buyer and the seller is not offering a buyer agent commission. So you as the buyer would then need to pay that buyer's agent commission. Or scenario number three, the seller is offering a reduced commission, and so you would both bring a commission to the table to make that up for the buyer's agent.
Correct. So nothing has changed there. And I would say 99% of the time, the seller is still offering the commission. Nothing has changed after the lawsuit has happened, as far as what we've seen to date.
Right.
So those headlines, while they grab titles and they really are eye catchers, and that's what they're there for, they're misleading.
Right. I think a lot of sellers recognize that it is in their best interest
Absolutely.
to offer a buyer's agent commission, because you're just going to get more people through the door. Not to mention, if you are trying to sell a home that would be appealing to a first-time home buyer, they may not want to see the house at all if they think that they are going to have to also come out of pocket to pay that buyer agent commission. They might not even want to see the house.
Well, let's be totally honest here. I mean, sellers have always offered a commission to the buyer's agent because it brings more people, brings more eyes. They net more money. It's not out of the goodness of their heart that they're offering commissions.
Right.
So this has always been the market. The market hasn't changed. So we're still just dealing with legal issues at the moment.
Right. So some sellers see the value there and then others don't. Again,
Right.
for sale by owners, for example.
Yeah.
And the amount that they've offered has always been negotiable.
So that's commission. So that hasn't changed for you guys. The other thing that we want to talk about briefly that has changed for a lot of buyers in a lot of different states is there is what we call an exclusive buyer agency agreement. Now, if you give me a call, you're driving down the street, you see a for sale sign, you say, Jake, I want to see that house today. Then I'm going to say, great, I would love to show it to you. What I'm going to need from you is I'm going to need you to sign a document that states that we are working together and that I am going to be paid.
Right. So what that document kind of goes over is our fiduciary duty to you to look out for your best interests at all time, be your representation and advocate for you. It also states the commission amount that's listed.
Yep.
It also states that as we are giving this to you, working for you, that you are exclusively working with us.
Right. So it basically outlines the business relationship, which should have been done up front anyways.
Right.
Now, here in North Carolina, we've had this document, and the document hasn't changed since the lawsuit at all here. It's the same document. What has changed is, legally speaking, it has to be signed prior to opening any doors and showing you any property.
Right, which it should be signed and taken care of anytime we start talking about numbers and specifics anyways. So now they're really, who this is affecting is people that have never met us before, that are driving down the street, or maybe they're in town for the weekend and we've never met before face to face, saying, hey, I wasn't planning on this today, but I'd like to go ahead and see this house. Can you meet me here today right now?
Yeah, so it's made it a little bit more of a process up front. But all parties should be in compliance and be realizing that they're entering a business relationship if they start working together regardless.
Right.
This just makes it official and everybody understands what's expected.
Right. The document is to provide transparency to the buyer.
And here in North Carolina, we've always had it, so our job hasn't changed a whole lot. Other states, it's different. Some of them didn't have this document prior to this.
Right.
So I would say that those are the two huge things that came out of this for a buyer.
Yes.
Your commission is probably still going to be covered by the seller. And yes, you are going to have to sign this document prior to seeing houses.
Right. So really, communication should have always been happening. Commissions, we can always speak freely about that. No problem. But this is encouraging people to have more of those conversations, really.
I think this is just pulling back the curtains. And that it's doing that to an extent. I think it has done that well. And I think this should have been happening regardless. That everybody understands that this is a business. Realtors get paid for what they do. And that we have a fiduciary duty to you.
Right, to protect you through one of the most major purchases of your life.
Absolutely. So if you have more questions about this, feel free just to pop in NAR settlement into a Google search. It'll pop right up, page 1, probably page 2, 3, 4. All the information you need, but you can also contact us directly. We can tell you kind of the ins and outs of it.
Yes, if you'd like to start your home search in real time here in North Carolina and you are curious about the ins and outs and the specifics and your particular situation, feel free, reach out to us. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. You can text, call, or email. My email is lexi@movingwilmington.com. His is jake@movingwilmington.com, and we'd absolutely love to hear from you soon.
Thank you, guys.